Have you ever been so tired of going through something that gratitude almost felt offensive? Like, please do not tell me to be thankful while I am still trying to survive what happened. I know that place. I know what it feels like when your heart is tired, your mind is overwhelmed, and your spirit keeps whispering questions you do not always say out loud. Why me? Why this? Why now? Why did it have to happen this way? But somewhere along the journey, I began to understand something deeper. Gratitude is not pretending life did not hurt. Gratitude is what helps you stop bleeding on everything God is trying to bless. And today, that is what we are talking about. Because some of us are not broken because of what happened. Some of us are exhausted because we are still bleeding on the very things God is trying to heal, restore, and grow in our lives. There is a real place in life where pain starts shaping your perspective. You go through enough disappointment, enough delays, enough heartbreak, enough stress, enough physical and emotional strain, and before long, your thoughts start turning against your hope. You do not even realize it at first, but slowly your mind starts building a case against your future. You start expecting more loss. You start waiting for the next hard thing. You start seeing life through the lens of what hurt you. And that is where the question, why me, keeps you trapped. Not because the question makes you weak, but because if you stay there too long, pain becomes your point of view. And when pain becomes your point of view, you can miss what God is still doing right in the middle of your life. Now, let me be clear. Gratitude is not denial. Gratitude is not pretending. Gratitude is not calling pain beautiful when it nearly took you under. Gratitude is not forcing a smile while your soul is still tired. Gratitude is not fake. Gratitude is the mature decision to say, God, I do not understand everything. I do not like everything. I would not have chosen every part of this journey, but I still believe you are present. I still believe you are working. I still believe you have a plan bigger than this moment. That is gratitude, and it is not the absence of pain. It is the refusal to let pain have the final word. Gratitude changes your mindset because it shifts your focus. It does not erase what happened, but it changes what you center. Instead of only seeing what you lost, you begin to notice what remained. Instead of only seeing what broke, you begin to notice what survived. Instead of only seeing what disappointed you, you begin to recognize what God protected you from. Gratitude helps you see that even in hard seasons, not everything was taken. There was still breath. There was still grace. There was still wisdom being formed. There was still strength being built. There was still mercy meeting you in places no one else could see. And once your perspective shifts, your posture shifts too. You stop moving like someone abandoned. You start moving like someone being guided. One of the biggest lessons gratitude teaches is how to wait differently. Because when you are stuck in fear, you wait in panic. You rush, you force, you overthink. You try to control outcomes that were never yours to control. But gratitude slows you down. It reminds you of who God has already been. It reminds you that He has kept you before. It reminds you that if He carried you through past seasons, He does not need your panic to complete this one. Waiting on God does not mean doing nothing. It means you stop moving in fear. It means you stop bleeding all over what He is trying to bless. It means you stop speaking death over things that are still growing. It means you trust His timing enough to stop making permanent conclusions in temporary pain. Sometimes the blessing is not just the door that opens. Sometimes the blessing is the wisdom you gained. Sometimes the blessing is the boundary you finally learned to keep. Sometimes the blessing is the version of you that became stronger, clearer, wiser, and more discerning. Sometimes the blessing is peace. Sometimes the blessing is perspective. Sometimes the blessing is the ability to sit back and say, God, I do not have to understand every detail to know that you are still writing my story. And that kind of gratitude changes everything, because now you are no longer looking at your life only through the lens of what hurt. Now you are seeing what healed, what held, what remained, what grew, what God would not let fall apart. If you have been in a season where life has stretched you, wearied you, or left you asking questions, I want to remind you of this. Gratitude is not pretending life did not hurt. Gratitude is what helps you stop bleeding on everything God is trying to bless. You may not have all the answers. You may not like every chapter. You may still be in the middle of the journey. But even here, there is still something to thank God for. Even here, there is still evidence of his hand. Even here, there is still proof that your story is not over. So maybe today is the day you stop asking why me long enough to ask a better question. God, what are you showing me here? What are you strengthening in me here? What are you preparing through this? Because when gratitude enters the room, perspective changes. And when perspective changes, you begin to see that God has been moving all along. Thank you for spending this time with me on the Bounce Back journey. If this episode blessed you, share it with another woman who may need this reminder. Come for the conversation. Stay for the clarity. Leave with your power back.